Welcome to the Near Memo, a weekly conversation about search, social, and commerce. What happened, why it matters, and the implications for local. Hello again, everybody. Welcome back to the Near Memo with David, Mike, and Greg. And today, a very special guest, Mark Traphagen, who is the VP of Product Marketing and Training for SEO Clarity and a SEO veteran who's been around 20 plus years in the space and knows everything that's happened and has an encyclopedic memory, and will be demonstrating that today for us. No, I'm just kidding. So today we'll be talking about sort of AI search and AI overviews and kind of the state of the Google SERP. We'll start with AI overviews and what that looks like. SEO Clarity and Mark in particular have been tracking and speaking about that on LinkedIn quite a bit. We're going to talk about referrals from ChatGPT and kind of the outlook for Search GPT, ChatGPT search, and then in our final segment we'll be talking about kind of the Google SERP and how and its impact on organic and SEO efforts. So, Mark, do you want to say anything before we kind of jump into this about yourself or your background, or make any kind of comments about anything?
Well, first of all, I want to note that you gave me credit for having a fantastic memory, but in our pre-show chat, I could not remember the word clickstream for about 30 seconds. So I don't know about that. We'll see how I do on that test, the cognitive test here. But no, thanks for having me. We're very excited to be here. Being at, for the last 5 years, I've been at SEO Clarity, which is a major enterprise level SEO platform, single source of truth kind of platform. And that's been an amazing opportunity because I get to get access to all this incredible data. We have a very cracked data science team. So looking forward to sharing some of those insights, what we do know, what we don't know, as we go through the show today. Thanks for having me on. This also, just want to say, for folks that wouldn't know, this is an amazing reunion for me. Like, all three of these guys are part of my history in this industry, and people I haven't been with for a while. So this is really cool, just hanging out with y'all.
Yeah, well,
you don't come to local very often. You know, you're sort of off in the sort of ether world of big time SEO. You know.
Yeah.
What you do is very big time, Mike. Yes.
Yeah.
Very important.
Well, I mean, what we like to say now is, and I think this is true, is that Google's biggest differentiator versus AI search is local, is its local graph. That has gone from being something which was kind of peripheral to something which is really central now to its ability to kind of claim differences and claim any superiority. So it's important for people to understand that. So, Mark, why don't you kind of give us a kind of an overview, so to speak, of the state of AI overviews as you see it from your perch?
I was going to say an AI. I'm going to give you an AI overview, but from a human. So some interesting things that we've uncovered. I got on to good old Search Generative Experience, SGE, like the day after it was announced. Was literally tracking it every single day that we could through that whole period. Of course, I think most people watching realize that it's now been rolled out first in the US back in May after Google I/O to be public. And then now is out in over 100 countries, gradually rolling out to those, not all as extensive as we have it in the US here. But it's been a great opportunity to share that, and especially since we've been able to track in great detail now the presence of the AIOs for the last number of months. We've been accumulating a lot of data on that. So if we want, I can start off with just some fun facts, things that we've uncovered that are out there. There's a lot of people sharing similar things to this, and you're not going to hear the same exact figures or percentages from everybody. And that's to be understood because everybody's looking at a different part of the elephant, right? Everybody's looking at a different sample, a different set. What I'm going to share here is based on everything that we can see in the US, all the keywords that we track in the US. It's hundreds of millions that we track on a daily basis. So just some things that we've been seeing. One is that it shows up for us, and this has remained pretty consistently for the last couple of months. In the US, we see it in about 3.9% of the keywords on desktop and about 4.2% on mobile. So slightly more on mobile, and a lot of people have reported that, again, with varying degrees of difference between the two. But that's what we're seeing in the US results. Also, again, as many people have reported, and it wasn't a surprise to me at all, it has settled into being heavily informational. So currently, we were back in August when we were first able to track the AIOs at scale, it was at about 97%, I think, informational for us. And now we're seeing it about 91%. And that's because the one thing that's come up a little bit is transactional. Came up from about 2% to a little over 7%.
Is that products?
Products, yeah. So transactions like product type of things. People that basically, when we measure, like a lot of platforms, we look at the results and we have an algorithm that looks and says, how is Google responding to this query? Is this that's how we determine search intent. So, if there's a query that goes in, like my favorite one to share is sunglasses, because that could be anything, right? It could be people. What is it? What are sunglasses? Somebody doesn't know that, but what you get when you go to sunglasses is almost 100% shopping results. So Google understands when people just type in that simple head term, they're not looking to find out what sunglasses are or information about sunglasses. They want to buy sunglasses. So we see that and we say, okay, sunglasses is mostly transactional intent. Things, of course, can have mixed intent, and Google understands that. By the way, just a little sidelight on AIOs. Where I'm seeing AIOs in products, we see it occasionally kind of being tested with some type of product display, but 99% of the time, it's an informational result. Even if the entire organic results are products, are transactional. So if you won't get one for sunglasses, but let's say you were getting an AIO for sunglasses. Down the organic results, you'd see all product results. The AIO would be sunglasses are something you wear when it's dark out or bright out. Sorry. It'd be more informational about types of sunglasses, shapes, things like that. So I think maybe they're beginning to ramp it up to satisfy some of that mixed intent, because in any given transactional query or transactional intent, there's going to be a certain percentage of the people that really are just looking for information or really just have a question. So I think maybe that's why they're mixing it in. One more thing, without getting too verbose about this, that I saw, just comparing back to SGE. So when in the days, and we mentioned pre-show about how the one place where AI seems to be not very useful so far, including even Google's AIO, is local types of results. And we saw a lot of experimentation with that back in SGE. And it's why I predicted even back then that when SGEs went public, we didn't know what they were going to call it yet, that there would be very little transactional or local results in them, because the SGE at its best attempt could not add any significant value to the incredible things that Google already does in those two areas. So what you see this in ChatGPT with search now, same kind of thing, similar result to what you used to see in SGE was simply it knew I was in Durham, North Carolina. So it would give me, if I said, best pizza in Durham, North Carolina, the SGE would give me a collection of things from aggregate articles, like, the kind of affiliate articles or aggregator articles that just say, here's the 10 best pizza shops in Durham, North Carolina. They were just drawn from that. Rather than, whereas, of course, if I go in Google, I'm going to get very, intense results. Google Organic, I'm going to get very intense results showing like the pizza nearest to me that I don't want to go to. And then I can sort out the ratings and all that. Anyway, just those two areas, just on intent, I think that's the things to note, is that local remains very low. We're seeing less than 2%, way less than 1% for localized results, and about 7% right now for transactional.
Are you seeing any of they just announced in Maps the ability to do these, tell me a fun thing to do for my son's birthday in Buffalo in Maps. Are you seeing any of that sort of stuff in
the one place that we've seen it heavy is in recipes right now. They've rolled that out. This is the organized by AI, I think is what we're talking
AI
about
organized
here.
pages.
Yeah. So we're definitely monitoring that, because Google has said that they intend to roll that out into other verticals eventually. I haven't seen some, and again, I don't pay as much attention to the local as you do, Mike.
They're doing. Mike wrote a piece on AI organized pages for restaurants and bars.
Interesting.
And so they've done that, at least in mobile as well, or they're playing with it at least.
Cool. I will pick that up and read that and pass that on to. We have a division called Local Clarity that does local search. So if they haven't already seen that, that would be of great interest, I'm sure. But yeah, the main thing, just so people understand what we're talking about, those Google has been testing this thing where they use AI right now in recipes so if you type in something like, best easy dinners with kids, the results will be a series of image carousels that are organized by 5-minute dinners,
one pot meals,
yeah,
whatever.
one pot meals, best for picky eaters. The AI just looks at the results and determines what's some commonalities among this, just like you would do if you gave ChatGPT something you said, like, organize this into an outline.
Yeah.
It's just doing that, but it's doing it with organizing the search results. And if and when that starts expanding into other verticals, it's going to be a whole new ballgame. So we are definitely, keeping a close eye on that.
That's what we saw in local tests. Was I asked for cocktail bars and it gave me rooftop cocktail bars and hotel cocktail bars and cocktail bars and on and on and on, a whole page of these local carousels.
Interesting to see that's happening in local too. Yeah.
Which David, I think, has pointed this out. This is a sort of another type of query refinement in a certain way, right? I mean, it's
done far more
functionally than GPT. See what sticks.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Mark, I had a question for you.
So
Mark, what's the Venn diagram of, I'm trying to do this for those watching on video, draw a Venn diagram with my hands here. What is the Venn diagram of AI overviews and featured snippets? Are AI overviews largely replacing featured snippets? Are they in addition to featured snippets? Are they appearing for queries where featured snippets weren't present before? What does that kind of dynamic look like?
We haven't measured it down to that level of granularity yet, although that's a good note to take that we should look at. But I can tell you that we have not seen so far AIOs affecting featured snippets, meaning that, if the query had a featured snippet before, or is likely to have a featured snippet, shows it often, and an AIO shows up, the featured snippet will still be there. We haven't necessarily seen it increasing featured snippets. It seems to be, they've so far kept it two separate processes. As with the rest of the organic results, right? The AIO has nothing to do with them other than, which is the next thing I was going to talk about here. We were the first in the industry to break some news about that they finally are using some of the ranking factors. We have hard evidence of that to determine sources for AIOs. Whereas before, like back in the SGE days and the early days of AIO, there was almost no correlation between what ranked high on Google in a radio organic and what showed up as a source in an AIO. Now we're seeing an increasing, I'll just jump to that quickly because I think it's very interesting. We found as soon as we got access to see like all of the US keywords with AIOs, we started doing research on this, and we found, to our shock, that the first thing we found was that over 99% of the AIOs that we look at now have at least one source from the top 10. Now that sounds like that would happen just by coincidence, but it was not the case a few months ago. And then we went deeper and we saw that 80% now have sources that match the top 3. And we found also that the number 1 organic result shows up in at least 50% of the AIOs. So what that tells us is they haven't switched over to using the organic rankings, but they finally, I think this is probably in response to all the bad publicity that they got. Yeah. When the first 2 weeks of AIOs were a real **T show for Google.
You can say the word.
It was a shit show for Google, PR wise, because everybody, was blasting like how bad these results were and how do I turn them off and how can I get rid of them? And then the mainstream press.
What, Mark? You don't like glue on your pizza?
Yeah,
sometimes
I'm an adventurous eater, but I am not that adventurous.
So I'm curious that theoretically, would you be able to determine? I mean, let's see. Let me back up. We have seen, for example, with places sites in European hotels and restaurants that even though they're first, users do not use them, just abandon them almost totally. And I know you guys wrote an article about how they were likely to steal results, clicks, but they did. When we watch people, and we've looked at, I don't know, too many videos, they don't. And so I know
700.
I know you said that you can't discern click-through rates in the AIOs from the organic, but if you created a subset of AIOs of links that weren't in the organic results, could you then suss out click-through rates of AIOs?
That's
theoretical
I
question.
thought about that. Yeah. I think it's the next project for our data science team, something like that, right? Do that kind of correlation study, because saying like if we just look at the ones, because we from our clickstream data, just like we can see that people clicked on a domain or on a URL. We can't tell what they clicked from. So if there's an AIO present, we can't tell if they clicked that from the AIO or from the organic results. But if we just focus, like you said, on the ones that don't rank in the organic results, that could begin to give us some idea. All right, give me some homework, Mike. I love it. Something.
Well, it would answer a question that David's been asking, that I've been asking, Greg's been asking.
Yeah.
They're there, but are people actually? How much are they using them?
Right.
Well, I mean, there was a Systrix blog post that I wrote about in one of the newsletters this week that, without any context or explanation, really said it compared clicks. Let me look. It compared clicks on featured snippets and AIOs, and it didn't talk about its methodology, but it showed that in the top couple of positions, the clicks on AIOs were. Let me. One second here. It showed that clicks on AIOs outperformed those on featured snippets. In the top two positions, you had more clicks on AIOs, and then it degraded, as you got down. So
top two positions within the AIO itself?
I believe so. It's a little unclear. It has to be within the AIO itself. But this was the only. This is, sorry for the sort of kind of choppy discussion there. This is the only data I've seen on click engagement with AIOs, other than Google's representations that users love it and they're striving more clicks and so on and so forth.
I don't know how they would be measuring that. It'd be very interesting. I wish they would give more detail on that, because believe me, we're trying every way sideways to find ways. Maybe it's something like what Mike just proposed. So it's based on speculations, based on part, because that would only be partial data, right? You'd only be able to looking at a subset of those organic clicks. But I don't know, and obviously you said they don't give any detail. How?
Well, they don't. It's just a conclusory statement. It doesn't have a methodology.
Exactly. So okay, it's interesting. I just can't really speak to that without knowing how they would be accessing those clicks, because Google, for anybody that's not out in the audience that is not aware, the clicks are there in your Google Search Console. We've been told that, but they're not separating them out. They're not delineating them. So you can't go into GSC and see these are the clicks from AIO. Only Google ultimately knows what gets clicked on. So we don't have access to that information. We don't know. We try to find other ways to ascertain it. Clickstream data is a great way to do that. We use a lot of it in terms of building out. We call our true search volume, which is can break down way farther than Google Ads. Google Ads is able to do, or displays, because we can see what people actually click on. But again, not to the level of where we can tell, they clicked on an AI overview here.
Gee, I can't think of any stock market reason why Google might be obfuscating that information.
They're starting to show like linked anchor text, apparently, in Barry Schwartz pointed this out. Yeah, and I would imagine that would drive clicks, because they're much more prominent than the sort of sidebar that they have had before.
Yeah, and people, it simulates the behavior that people are used to, right? We've been used to for 25 years now, or more, of seeing text with inline links that we click on. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see if they expand that. It is a limited. I haven't been able to find it or reproduce it yet, so it's definitely just a test that they're running.
Thanks for joining David, Mike, and Greg. To stay on top of the latest developments in local, subscribe to our newsletter at nearmedia.co. We'll see you next week.